Hello friends, welcome back to a new video. So friend, today in this video I am going to share with you as to what are the doctrine of separation of powers which has been embodied under the Constitution of India. In earlier videos I have already shared with you as to what is the meaning or the doctrine of separation of powers and what are the defects in it. So today and how it is embodied under Indian Constitution is very initially important to note, because generally questions comes under the LLB exams that what is the doctrine of separation of powers, what are the defects in it, and how it is covered or provided under the Indian Constitution. So friend, basically this doctrine or position of this doctrine provides and examined with reference to certain provisions which has been governed under the Indian Constitution, because we know if you gone through the Constitution of India, there are several provisions, articles, sections which are relevant for it, and how it is embodied in it, we will go through it from certain points of view with points. So the first point is Constitution Conspectus. In India, the doctrine of separation of powers has not been accorded a constitutional status. In the Constituent Assembly, there was a proposal to incorporate this doctrine in the Constitution, but it was knowingly not accepted. The Indian Constitution does not speak of the functions of the three organs of the state, and under the entire Constitution, if you see under the entire Constitution, only the executive power is vested in the President, while provisions are simply made for a parliament and judiciary without expressly vesting the legislative and judicial powers in any person or body. Second is parliamentary executive. Although the executive power of the union is vested in President, the Constitution provides for the parliamentary executive, and under the Indian Constitution, provisions have been made for Council of Ministers with the Prime Minister at the head to aid and advise the President in the exercise of his functions. The Council of Ministers, including the Prime Minister, are members of the Parliament and collectively responsible to the House of the People, as was also held in the case of Ram Jawaya versus State of Punjab. The main third provision is a broad division of functions. On a casual glance at the provisions of the Constitution of India, it may be inclined to say that the doctrine of broad division of the power of the state has been accepted under the Constitution of India. Fourth main element is functional overlapping. On a perusal of the constitutional provisions, it is very clear that the doctrine of separation of powers has not been accepted in India in its strict sense, and there is a functional overlapping in it. The President of India, in whom the exercise authority of India is vested, exercise legislative power in the shape of the ordinance making power, and also the judicial powers under Article 1031 and 2173 mention only a few points regarding this. The Supreme Court has the power to declare the laws passed by the legislature and the actions taken by the executive void if they violate any provisions of the Indian Constitution or the law passed by the legislature. The court also has power to declare any constitutional requirement or any amendment as void if it changes the basic structure of the Constitution. Or we can also say the legislature exercises not only the legislative powers but also the judicial powers in case of breach of its privilege, impeachment of the President, and removal of the judges. Next, fifth point is constitutional recognition of the doctrine. The question of constitutional recognition of the doctrine of separation of powers was at length considered by the Supreme Court of India in the case of Nehru Gandhi versus Raj Narayan, where it has been held by our Chief Justice Mr. Ray has rightly observed that our Constitution recognizes the division between the three main powers of the government. Sixth main point is source of the doctrine of separation of powers is constituent powers. Under the Indian jurisprudence, the source of the doctrine of separation of powers is constituent powers, which is an amalgam of all the powers. When the constituent powers exercise powers, the constituent powers comprises the legislative, executive and judicial powers, and the constituent power is sovereign. It creates the organs and distributes the powers. Separation of powers as a very basic feature. In the case of Indira Nehru Gandhi versus the Raj Narayan, it has been held that the separation of powers is a feature of basic structure of constitution, and none of the three separate organs of the republic can take over the functions assigned to the other. This constitutional scheme cannot be changed ever by resorting to amending the process under Article 386 of the Constitution. In conclusion, and by saying all over which has been discussed earlier, we can say that the opinion of our Supreme Court expressed in the case of Keshavanand Bharati's case that both the supremacy of the Constitution and separation of powers are constituents of the basic structures of the Indian Constitution, and this view has been reaffirmed by the Supreme Court in the case of Indira Nehru Gandhi versus Raj Narayan Singh, where it has been held that this constitution has a basic structure comprising the three organs of the republic, that is the executive, the legislature and the judiciary, and neither of these separate organs of the republic can take over the functions assigned to the other. So basically there are three separate organs: legislature, executive and judiciary, which work separately, and they will not interfere with each other for a very simply providing a law of justice according to the rule separation of power under the subjects of administrative law. So friends, these are the topic of as to how the doctrine of separation of powers embodied under the Indian Constitution that which has been discussed in this video. So friends, if you like this video, please don't forget to share with others, subscribe it, and we have also some notes regarding these subjects, which if you need, you can mention it comment box, or you can send a separate email for this. We will send the separate notes for you regarding this subject or others as well. So friends, let's meet with other video. Thanks for watching this topic.